for people who were like, "Oh, good for you, naked girl. You did some nice acting there." That last scene, it's like that is drama, like, a difficulty level 10.
This year's winner of the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. I know you guys are so psyched about this one. It's Anora from Sean Baker, the great Sean Baker. You got to subscribe because this movie right here is the kind of thing that we love doing. It's our bread and butter right here, the kind of buzzy art house movie that everyone's talking about, everyone's psyched about. So come hang out with us. Alonso, what is Anora about?
Will you marry me?
Seriously?
Seriously.
3 carrots.
What about 4?
Yeah, it's funny. It's one of those social media questions that goes around sometime. Who's a director who has never made a bad movie? And I kind of put Sean Baker in that category. Like from the very beginning, when he was doing really scrappy indie stuff like Takeout and Prince of Broadway, I was already on board, and he just gets more and more fascinating as career continues. And yeah, this year he won the Palme d'Or. And of course, Neon, who always gets the Palme d'Or winner, has this one. So Mikey Madison stars as Annie. That's what she prefers to go by. She is an erotic dancer, as one character describes her, and a sex worker on the side. One day, a wealthy, young, and drunk patron named Vanya comes in. She is assigned him because she's the one dancer at the establishment who speaks Russian. They hit it off, and he hires her, Pretty Woman style, for a full week. And during that week, they dash off to Vegas, and he impulsively says, "Let's get married." And she's like, okay. And so they do. And, for a while it seems, oh, this is so great. It's a dream come true. It's the Pretty Woman happy ending. But then his family finds out about it, and his very wealthy, very powerful, very oligarchy Russian family, not thrilled about Annie, not thrilled about this marriage. And they go through a very complicated series of steps to find Vanya, who has run off, and get the two of them in front of a judge to annul the marriage. And it becomes a comedy of errors. And we talk about movies that juggle tone. And this movie goes from being very serious and dramatic to being wacky and farcical, without ever losing sight of who these characters are and how they relate to each other and what they want out of these situations. I had no idea where this movie was going. I was thoroughly charmed by it. Mikey Madison is a delight. The whole ensemble cast is really fun and just gets it. And once again, Sean Baker is such a genius at telling the stories of marginalized people in a way that never feels like he's being a looky-loo, like he's being exploitative. He gets into these communities of which he is not a member, and tells these stories with great empathy and understanding and wit. And it's always a terrific experience, and this is ranks among his very best films.
Yeah, the tone is so impressive here because not only does it take wild swings from one minute to the next, but sometimes it contains like conflicting emotions at once, like hilarity within the terror and like vindication within the abuse, and everything that would seem contradictory at once, but it all kind of comes together so well. And you're right, like we always know who these people are. We're always interested in who they are and in their struggles and in their possible redemption. And there's so much to this Mikey Madison performance. It's physical, of course. I mean, she is naked and she's dancing a lot. And so she's bearing herself in that regard, but also like she's so tough and so street smart and so quick with like a comeback or a punch when need be. But within that, you never forget that there is a vulnerability to her and a longing to her. And so when this guy sweeps her off her feet, yes, she's saved financially, but you sense that it's more meaningful to her than that. Yes. Right. She likes the life, certainly. And she likes being whisked off to Vegas in a private jet and like all the drugs and all the parties and all the friends. And for a while, this movie is a total whirlwind. Like it's thrilling and raunchy and profane and hilarious. Like when you're young, this is what you want, right?
Yeah.
When you're in your 20s.
It's the dream.
This is what you want. But then you sense that she perceives a stability within this relationship that is clearly not there to our eyes. We know this can't last. And that's what's so heartbreaking is that she actually likes him and she wants something deeper. And the way she interacts with everybody in this film, all the goon thugs who are doing the beating of the Russian oligarch, and some of them are Armenian, which is interesting. There's a whole like sense of place within Brighton Beach as far as like a hierarchy within various immigrant groups. That's very interesting. It seems very granular.
Right. Yeah. Like the Armenians work for the Russians, but the Russians constantly refer to the fact that they're Armenian, so clearly they're like outside of the tribe or whatever. Like, yeah, you get a sense of these sort of power dynamics within all of that. And the one sort of henchman guy who is actually Russian winds up having this really fascinating relationship with her that the other two don't, for various reasons. You know, there's like this is the kind of movie that has a running joke about a concussion, and it's funny. You know, it's just it is I was just constantly taken by surprise by where it was going. There's an emotional depth that you don't think you're going to get early on. There's a sort of full arc of like falling for somebody and being committed to that person, and then really coming to understand that person and being like, oh wait, oh so you're, oh okay, that's what this is. Yeah, I love this movie. Like it does the things that so many of the things that we complain that movies don't do enough in terms of being surprising and feeling like real human beings and not the product of some committee sitting around giving script notes. Like you know, it is. And like David O. Russell at his best, I describe his movies as high wire acts that at any moment you think this is going to fall over, this is going to collapse, and he somehow gets to the other side of it. And this is one of those movies where Sean Baker is taking huge swings narratively but so confidently and landing everything. It's one of the year's best films. Yeah,
and it fits so well into the stories he's told in the past, whether it's Tangerine or the Florida Project or Red Rocket. Like he's fascinated by people on the fringes who are trying to make the American dream work for them, and realizing that maybe it's not going to be the path that they had imagined, and the disillusionment of that, but also like the hard-won redemption of that eventually. Like there's not just sympathy, there's like affection, like deep, real affection for these characters. Like he wants them to win. And so he makes us want them to win as well. And a lot of times they happen to be sex workers, and there's no judgment ever. There's just humanity, like a complete full person in front of you just trying to make it work.
Yeah, I would highly recommend the movie of his that seems to have kind of slipped between the cracks. I think a lot of people missed it for whatever reason, is Starlet, which is about the unlikely friendship between an adult film actress and a cranky elderly woman in the San Fernando Valley.
I've seen that. That was good.
It was really good. And I remember, I think the Spirit Awards gave it the Robert Altman Award that year for the ensemble. But yeah, he will deal with, you know, again, you know, Tangerine, Red Rocket, so often he'll talk about characters who are sex workers, but never condescending, never judgmental. And yeah, he is actively rooting for them. He wants things to come out okay for these folks, while at the same time never sort of soft pedaling or glamorizing what their day-to-day life looks like.
Right. Very clear-eyed about like how ugly it can be and how horribly people often get treated who work in these industries and all of that. Yeah. Really great sense of place here, whether it's the strip club, like the VIP section of the strip club, or it's Vanya's enormous tacky waterfront mansion, which is so cold, like so impersonal, right? Like it's lavish and ostentatious without being in any way personal. Like it just looks like
big empty spaces,
a big blocky empty space, like perfect for partying, perfect for trashing.
Sure,
you know, and you see like what happens the morning after his New Year's Eve party, and the poor people who have to pick up after him and all of his awful friends. Like everyone's kind of awful here, but Anora is not. She is good. She is lovable despite being tough and fierce. She is. Yeah, you really want her to like kind of like Julieta Messina in Knights of Cabiria.
Oh, sure, yeah.
No, but just like in that she's tough and she's feisty and she's fierce, but like there's a tender heart in there that's unmistakable. And so you want to see her win.
Totally, yes. Nice use of Coney Island as well.
Yeah, as a destination that is not in any way glamorous. Yeah, Brighton Beach is super Russian. Also, I like the use of the Russian language when she uses it, when she doesn't. How well she uses it, because she's Russian American, she understands it.
Sure.
but she speaks it in like the most horribly flat Americanized, like "Привет, меня зовут Annie," which is like, "Hi, my name is Annie," and it's like she's not even trying.
Oh.
But that evolves as well as she gets closer to him. It's like,
Right.
it's like she wants his approval and she
Making an
wants to do it
effort.
right.
Oh, look, actual Spaniards can hear my American ass coming from kilometers away. I can empathize with that. We're just gushing about this movie. It's great. You should see it. It's
Okay.
opening limited this weekend and then expanding, do we think? So
Yeah. What's your number?
keep an eye. 9.5. I loved it. It's wonderful. What about you?
I will say a 9 because I think it's a skosh too long. It's like 2 hours and 19 minutes long, and I'm not sure it needs to be.
Never felt that way for me.
Having said that, like one of the last long single takes is breathtaking. The emotion of it, the high wire act of it.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, like I think for people who were like, "Oh, good for you, naked girl. You did some nice acting there." That last scene, it's like that is drama, like, you know, a difficulty level 10, like, and she totally nails that one long shot. So brava to her, to Sean Baker, to everyone involved. Go see Anora. It's great.